Now, when it comes to allowing devices on these virtual networks to talk to each other, we've already seen how to set up a peering relationship, but there's also a second way to do this. That is using network gateways. So if we go into one of these virtual networks and we go into subnets, we can actually see that by default, we only have the one subnet. We'll talk in another part of this course about how to create other subnets for other purposes. But there's also this thing called a gateway subnet, in which we can install a network gateway. Network gateways set up site-to-site VPNs between 2 points. Now, normally this would be used as a VPN between your Office and Azure. And so you can set up a VPN device, a physical device in your premises to connect to this network gateway and allow people on your network to talk to Azure and vice versa. Well, we can use these same network gateways to set up effectively a site-to-site connection between two VNets. We're going to go ahead and create a gateway subnet. Now, actually, before we do that, we should note that I have intentionally left some space on the VNet for these extra addresses. So the entire VNet is a /27, which has 32 IP addresses, but the subnet is a /28, which is only 16 addresses. And as you see, 5 of them are reserved, and so there's only 11. So we do have half of the address space available. So I'm going to create a gateway subnet. It's given a name that we have no control over, and it's automatically going to take the remaining 11 addresses for itself. We're not going to set up any security, anything like that. We're going to leave it as the default. So it's going to create a second subnet called gateway subnet on this thing. Now, in order to use this, we're going to have to add a network gateway to this as a virtual device. So I'm going to go back up to the resource group, say add. I'm going to type network gateway, and we can see virtual network gateway as a device. Now we have to give it a name, so VNet gateway is a good name as any. Now it is important to where we're going to place it. We want this virtual network gateway to be in East US 2 because that's where our virtual network is. And then we'll put one in Japan and we can set up those two. This is a VPN device. We'll leave the defaults on that. And which virtual network are we going to add this to? Well, we only have the network gateway on new test 1 right now. Okay, so it's already picked up the gateway address range. If I had chosen new test 2, then it would have created me that address range for me. It's smart enough. Now it does network does require a public IP, so call this new gateway 1, new gate 1. I'm going to leave all these other defaults set, save, review, and create, and create. Now, while that's doing, I'm going to switch over to the pricing screen. Now, as you'd expect, virtual networks are not free. And so we're looking at basically getting a device like, I think we chose the Gateway 1 SKU, and so it is 19 cents per hour. That does add up to about $140 a month in this sort of SKU. Now we get a dedicated set of bandwidth, and we get up to 30 site-to-site tunnels that we can set up, which will allow us to connect to other virtual networks. Like I said, or set up to our on-premises. Okay. Now the pricing for traffic is different, and it's actually cheaper to do this network gateway connection than it is to do peering. But as you see, we're paying for the device itself. We'll be paying for devices on both ends. But you do get free inbound traffic, so you're not paying on both sides. You're only paying on one. And you're paying the regional rates for outbound traffic. So if you have a lot of traffic going from East US 2 into Japan, you're getting free inbound traffic in Japan, and you're only paying the 3.5 cents per gigabyte, which is the low-end price of traffic from East US 2. And so compared to the 12.5 cents we were looking at for peering, 3.5 cents is a lot cheaper. Now you're going to have to do the math and see if paying $100 a month for a gateway on both ends times 2 is cheaper than what you're actually paying for the data transfer bandwidth. So there's going to be a mathematical calculation to see if this is a money-saving method for you. Now, while we're waiting, I actually deployed the virtual network gateway to the Japan network as well. And so we are in the deployment process. Now, it does take a little while. So the virtual network gateway has been deploying now to East US 2 for more than 5 minutes. And so it's going to take 5 to 10 minutes for this network gateway to get started. And we'll pause the video and come back when that's set up.